Okay, here we go again. Okay, this is for HR people, people in business, as well as there's a little bit at the end towards transgender individuals. Transgender workers, especially. This is geared around towards business stuff here. So, and I got some stuff on the side here to read. Some stats for you. Okay, business people, listen up, open up your ears, listen to the stats. November 2024. Study was conducted by the Williams Institute at UCLA Law School that 82% of transgender employees experience discrimination at work, with 68% experiencing at least one form of harassment. 68%. Now, to mitigate this, the transgender employees, what do? Well, they have to hide themselves. 71% cover up their behaviors. 39% actually change how frequently they use the restroom. Imagine sitting for 8 hours, maybe even more than 8 hours, sitting there and saying, I have to go to the restroom, but I can't. Think about that. And 46% actually alter their voice and their mannerisms so that they could fit in better. So, I mean, come on now. 67% are twice as likely to quit their job than cisgender employees that are about 33%. So 67% are twice as likely to quit their job. And 79% of those have already started to take steps to find another job. Loss of employees, loss of productivity, 2024 also. Boston College, Center for Work and Family, LGBTQ plus employees, a progress report was done by Boston College. And both of these links are going to be in the description. Due to legislative actions of the current administration, almost 45%, almost half of workers, the workforce, feel less safe in their state of residence. And when asked if they were offered a job in another state, 79% said that state's laws would impact their decision about taking the job. Or actually not even just taking the job, but asking somebody to relocate to another state. No, they won't go because of the laws of that state. And I mean, we know some of these laws that are around. And if you don't, well, let's get down into it and understand what's happening. Because these are things that your employees think about. Okay, these things are constantly going through their heads that they think about. I mean, we talk about, and in another video, I spoke about DEI initiatives. DEI does not mean LGBT. Okay, DEI encompasses not just LGBT, but also encompasses women's rights, women employees, employees of color, Latinas, Asians, different nationalities, Hindi, different nationalities, as well as military veterans. They're part of DEI. And you know what? Let's look at the biggest one, which people don't seem to understand, aka Texas and Florida. DEI initiatives. One of the oldest DEI initiatives is the ADA, the Americans with Disabilities Act. So if you want to get rid of DEI initiatives, perfect, get rid of them. Take away handicap parking. Take away wheelchair ramps. Governor Abbott in Texas won't be able to get to his office without a wheelchair ramp. DEI does not only mean LGBT. Get that through your heads. You have to understand this and how all of that impacts your employees when they walk through the door coming into work. Because some of them in a lot of states, and I mean, you have armed military presence in the streets, and there's threats of that military presence going into other cities, with the next one on the list being Chicago and other Democratic cities. Some of us, we literally take our lives in our hands just to leave our house to go to work. That's what we have to do every single day. Know that this is going on with your employees. So what can you do? As I said before, you have employee resource groups. I don't care if you call them ERGs, if you call them affinity groups, employee networks. Have groups where your employees could come together, where there is a community. Make your place a safe space where all of these employees, and not just LGB, but all of the employees feel safe to come together, to learn about the challenges that they all are having, to understand, because understanding breaks down the walls of division and hatred. Understand what everybody is going through in their lives. They come together. Have education, lunch and learns, things like that. Your HR information systems, make sure that they're upgraded. Okay, if somebody wants to have a preferred name on their name badge, let them have it. Don't say, well, we can't do it. There are a lot of antiquated, HRIS that don't allow a preferred name. And again, it's not just transgender. Like I've said before, somebody that you meet, his name is Robert. Oh, but call me Bob. I prefer Bob. Why is that okay? But calling somebody who's transgender a name that they prefer, not okay. Do you get like the disconnect here? As human beings, we are so far above the animal kingdom because we were given a brain to think and reason. There's a big disconnect here. Okay, changing the names. Have policies. What happens with a name change? Well, if a cisgender woman gets married, well, she could change her last name and it's done. But as someone who's transgender and I do a legal name change, it's, oh my God, what do we do? What's the difference here? Policies, put these policies in place. Restroom policies. Now, I know for a lot of companies, it's hard to do with the restrooms because unless you own the facility, then you have to deal with the leasing management and property management. And, so it's hard with restrooms and stuff like that because you're sharing with other businesses, things like that. But if you own a facility, have an all-gender restroom. Or just put it in your policy that people can utilize the restroom with the gender that they identify with. Because after all, if I'm wearing a dress and you say I have to use the men's room, how uncomfortable will the men be in that bathroom with me there in a dress? They will be uncomfortable, not just me, but they will be uncomfortable. You create more problems by doing that. I just went to the bathroom. My God, it's nothing. I'm not in there to a guy in a dress who wants to go after the women. That's a man problem, not a transgender problem. Okay? I said that before. Fix your policies. Understand the needs of your employees. Understand the challenges that they have. Discuss with them. What can we do? And how can we do it? And this also goes to especially with the name change. Especially with the name change. That has to be, and this is also for the transgender employee, okay? Understand that a legal name must be used like on payroll checks, W-2 forms, the tax forms, things like that. That's your legal name, okay? And I get that, and I understand that. And that's what you have to make sure that your employee understands. That for that, you have not legally changed your name yet. So for that, we must use your legal name. If you provide health insurance, the insurance has to be under the legal name. But what we can do is use your preferred name on any other in-house documents, in-house emails. That can be done. Microsoft Outlook, whatever email program you utilize, that can be done. Okay, and that's not a legal thing. But make sure that you understand how far you can go, and then legally what you cannot do. And please ensure that your employee understands we can only go this far, and we will be more than happy to help you. But because you have not legally changed your name, you cannot go this far. When you do legally change your name, then you'll have a process flow for that. Court order, whatever you want to do, and then everything can be changed. But allow that conversation to happen between you and the employee. So the employee understands and says, thank you. Thank you for doing the best that you can. And help, and so this way there's cooperation. Okay, do you want your employees to leave? No. I mean, a lot of us are damn good at what we do. Do you want me to leave? Because how much does that now cost a company? Okay, C-suite, are you listening? How much will that cost you to replace? Where was it? 79% have started to take steps to find another job. 79% of your workforce. Okay? How much is that going to cost you in recruiting? Talent management. Once you do the recruiting, then now the time taken away by the for the hiring managers to hire these people, and then the onboarding, and then the training, and then the learning curve to bring them up to the level of the individuals that are leaving. How sustainable is that for your organization? Your organization will flounder. And if you say, I don't care, that's fine by me, well, then your organization will be steeped in mediocrity instead of constantly pushing forward in a changing marketplace. Well, then we'll just outsource. Then we'll just go AI. That doesn't work, because then you lose a customer base and you have increased customer churn, because they're talking to somebody who doesn't understand their language in another country, who doesn't even work for you and doesn't care because your name is not on their paycheck. So outsourcing, and that you have to worry about, because even companies that do outsourcing say that organizations should never, never, never outsource their core competency. Never outsource the core competency. So are you willing to lose all of these employees just because you don't want to sit down with them and just have a discussion and create a safe space for your employees, so your employees can feel satisfied? Your employees can feel safe at work. If your employees feel safe at work, then they are engaged. If they are engaged, there's increased productivity. There's a positive employee experience, which then leads to a positive customer experience, which all of that results in continuous sustainability in a changing marketplace. And the increased longevity, and that also puts an A+ on your company for CSR, for corporate social responsibility. And everybody now, and you could talk to all of the recruiters, Gen Z and everybody else that's looking in, they're looking at a company not for what the company could do for them, but what the company does for society. That's what they judge a company on. And if your company is not engaged in the society, does not have a corporate social responsibility, and I'm not just talking about a hashtag on your website, but actually takes action towards that, then what's going to happen to your organization? If you have shareholders, they're not going to be happy. Okay, so these are things to think about, as well as some of the stats. So HR, please take the time out to create a safe space for everyone and include everyone. Remember that not everybody fits into one box. Okay, somebody can be, a woman of color who fits into that one employee group, but she could also be part of the LGBT community and fits into that group. And she might well be a military veteran and fit into that group. Okay, so there's a mixing. So everybody needs to understand, and everybody needs to feel safe. And again, from the employee standpoint, understand the legalities. You may be able to have a preferred name, but if you have not legally changed your name, it will not show up. Your legal name will show up on your paycheck. Your legal name will show up on your tax forms. Understand this. So, that's my rant. Speak to you later. Bye.